Well, I guess I'm gonna be a contrarian again. I liked Captain America Brave New World, okay? Yes, it's not perfect, but I think we all need to chill out a little bit. The internet is imploding right now over this movie. If you just looked at Reddit, you'd think it's horrible. But from where I'm sitting, I just walked out of a perfectly fine, decent political action thriller, had a pretty good time, and I think you could have a good time too, maybe, depending on your tastes. That's the key here, because it's not an objectively bad movie. Marvel has made genuine garbage before, and this one is a cut above all of that. But it also doesn't really excel in any one aspect. So we need to talk about the movie, and let's start with the story. I think the most interesting thing right off the bat is that they start by framing it as a mystery or paranoid thriller. It's very much Sam and his buddies slowly finding clues to unearth this conspiracy, and that's pretty refreshing to see from a Marvel movie, honestly. It's not actually just a generic Marvel movie like you might have heard, at least not completely. However, the problem is the plot is really thin, for a bunch of reasons, exposition, action, and also the marketing kind of spoiled everything already, so even though the mystery aspect is interesting, it feels like we're playing pretend. Like it takes them 20 minutes of runtime to figure out it was mind control when it's so obvious, and you should know better, Sam. Your best friend is Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. The story is also just bogged down by tying up old plot threads and setting up new ones. Marvel clearly heard the complaints about none of their new movies connecting and gave Sam Wilson 4 movies to juggle. But they do it logically, the central conflict around adamantium makes sense and everything, it just lacks depth. But hey, most Marvel movies are kind of weak in the story department anyway. They just make up for it with charismatic characters. Without likable characters and fun dynamics, you have nothing, and thankfully, most of the main characters are good enough to carry the movie and help you ignore some of the other flaws. In fact, I'd say the best thing about this movie is the cast. Sam is very good as Cap. He may not be Steve Rogers, but that's fine. He still embodies his values. I think they also alleviated his lack of personality in previous movies by giving him a little bit of exaggerated swagger in this movie. There's a few moments where it feels like it's just Anthony Mackie being himself on camera, and that's great. He's a real charismatic guy. I also like that they let him be Cap instead of dwelling on what it means for a black man to be Captain America. And I'm not saying that in an I hate minorities kind of way, but I'm just saying we already did that in the show, just let him do cool stuff now. The rest of the cast is good too. His buddy Torres is hit or miss, but I thought he was pretty endearing, and Isaiah is awesome. It's really cool to see them carry over his brotherhood with Sam from the show, and their dynamic really gives the movie some soul that it desperately needs. He's great. The only supporting character I don't like is the Israeli spy lady. Not to get political, but I'm not even saying it because of that. She's just so unlikable. It's like Disney intentionally made her devoid of any charisma so that people just stop being mad about her being in the movie. But we're clearly supposed to like her. She's also just miscast. She's so small and unintimidating, and not in a good way. Just, why is she here? You have Sharon Carter, just make her Sharon Carter. Or look, I'm no fan of She-Hulk, but I heard she was originally going to be in the movie, and I'll take it, okay? Give me the Green Lady, at least she's fun to watch. This one is just a black hole of personality. Alright, let's discuss villains, because there are 3 of them in this movie, or 3 antagonists, I guess, because President Ross isn't really a villain. He's supposed to be a well-intentioned, sympathetic adversary to Sam. People have been saying he's so good that he carries the movie, and I don't feel that strongly. I think they're just hyping him up because it's Harrison Ford, but he's still pretty good. He brings an interesting personal element to the story, and he's way better than the main villain. The leader is just a generic mustache-twirling evil man in chair type of guy, and I wish they just made Ross the villain, but I'll talk about this more in another video to stay on topic. The third villain is Gustavo Fring, and he's actually the coolest one. If you're hearing people say he's wasted, I totally disagree with that. He was utilized effectively as a minor background character. He's not in the movie that much, but they weave him into the narrative in a convincing way, and he's super fun to watch every time he gets to have a scene. His one-on-one fight with Sam is my favorite action scene. Speaking of which, this movie has a lot of action. I think too much. Like, we're just going from scene to scene at breakneck pace, like I'm watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It starts feeling like they're just throwing big set pieces at us over and over to keep us engaged, and actually, I think that's exactly what they're doing. They bet it all on action sequences for this movie, but most of them are just not that interesting. Like, they're fine, but for a movie with a Captain America that can fly, not to mention a Red Hulk, they should have been better than fine. But regardless, I guess they're good enough to entertain you throughout the film. Alright, final words. So obviously I'm supposed to be defending this movie, but I haven't exactly been enthusiastic, so what's the deal? Well, there are some cool aspects, but for the most part, this is just an okay movie. Look, it's not perfect, but it has a lot of good stuff to outweigh the mediocrity, and for me, that was enough to be entertained. There's about a 0% chance that this movie will blow you away, but speaking for myself, it was not a waste of time, and I don't regret spending my money on that movie ticket. It all depends on your tastes. Maybe the characters just don't click with you the same way they did with me, or maybe you're just not that into Marvel anymore. The movie is not strong enough to overcome those subjective flaws. Like I said, it doesn't excel in any aspect. respect. But I just want to emphasize that this movie is not straight up bad. I give it a 7, maybe a 6 if I want to be more objective, but I'm feeling a 7. And honestly, I feel like this movie is better written than Deadpool and Wolverine, or at least on par. I gave Deadpool an 8 just because it's really funny and it also has some good moments. Really, that's this movie's biggest sin, is that it lacks those awesome movie experience defining moments. For me, it's that Gus fight and also the Isaiah Bradley scene at the start because I really like that character. But I guess for most people, this movie is just devoid of anything memorable. And that's a problem, sure. Marvel has previously been able to stuff some big striking spectacles in even their weaker movies, but this movie is not poorly written. Yeah, I guess it's kind of basic, but Deadpool's plot was even more basic and everyone loves that movie. It's just a Marvel movie. I still like Marvel movies, so I enjoyed it. And if you're tired of Marvel, you probably won't enjoy it. It's as simple as that. If it came out 10 years ago, the reviews probably would have been fine. I'm not saying it's an amazing film, and I wish it was better because a Sam Wilson Captain America movie could have gone so hard, but I think it deserves to be a modest success. You know, they made something competent and entertaining. Marvel is course correcting, and this is already better than the stuff they were making before. So everyone just chill out. Marvel is going to be okay. Just sit back and wait for Daredevil, alright?